So welcome to my work solutions for the Eduqas/WJEC. It's the GCSE foundation paper. We're on component 2 as they call it, in other words paper 2, so it's Calc Aloud, and it's a massive 2 hours 15, so we'd best get going. As always with these Eduqas papers, they're very wordy, more than any other exam board, and there's lots of diagrams, and there's sometimes limited amount of space to actually be writing your answers in. So do write on the diagrams, and when it comes to wordiness, take it one thing at a time. So, no one cares, no one cares, no one cares. Rian buys a bracelet, £45, 5 words, so times by 5. So obviously you're starting to press on your calculator. £45 plus 0.84 times 5, but also a heart charm. So add on £13.20. And we get the total amount, £62.40. Hugh spends that much on star charms. We need to take that amount and divide it by the star charms, which is £37.54, and it works out that he buys 5. On to Caitlin. Again, very, very wordy. Caitlin has a special offer. 1 bracelet, 4 flower charms. So back up here. 1 bracelet, 4 flower charms. You can now work out how much that costs on your calc, £117. But we need to work out how much is cheaper, find the difference. That's a takeaway. That's meant to be a 7, I assure you. Hey, answer £22. On we go. Number 2, you can do this by formula, but it comes down under the count the full squares and then count the 2 half squares. You get 12. For the next one, got to draw a rectangle. Lots of possible answers. You can even do half squares if you want to be a dafty. Why bother? As you can see, I've gone for a 3 by 4, but a 6 by 2, 12 by 1. They're the obvious acceptable ones. Stick with them. Number 3, the old choosing from a list, but the numbers are quite big, so you've got your calculator. You'll know your multiples of 7, hopefully, up to 84, if not 70. But then you will realise if you keep it going, you will get to 91. Another way is do each of these numbers, divide it by 7 on your calculator, and it's this one that will give you 13. That's the only one that gives you a whole number answer. Factor means goes in with no remainder, so we're not talking multiples. It goes in. 20 goes in exactly 5 times. Prime numbers, if you don't know them as high as 31, because that is the right answer, then you can do it by eliminating. All right, the 200, the even, powers of 5, not powers, multiples of 5, and so on. And square number, if you didn't know that 169 is the 13 squared, then square root each of them on your calc again until you get a whole number. Number 4, when you measure this obtuse angle, you should get 135, with the mark scheme allowing you to go up and down by 2. Part B, the line AB, that goes all the way across, so that's the diameter. The lines CD and CE, they've drawn the right angle on. They are perpendicular. I'll let you write the rest out. And they've got ST and RQ. They've got the signs on that they are parallel. On we go. So part C, One of them where you hopefully have come across it. 5 vertices, that's 5 corners, pointy bits, whatever you want to call it, and 5 faces. Again, if you didn't know it was a square-based pyramid, you can do it by eliminating, because cuboid and cube, they have 6 faces. Cone only really has 2, one flat, one curved, but again, nowhere near. And triangular prism is the only one it might be. Feel free to draw it. It does have 5 faces, all right, but doesn't have 8 edges. It doesn't have 5 vertices. There's 3 at the front. There's 3 at the back. It has 6. So again, if you didn't know it, you can do it by elimination. And part D, this strange arrangement has 2 lines of symmetry, the diagonals marked on. Number 5. They've put a picture of a box because obviously they assume some people might not know what a box is, but there we go. If you're as old as me, it's something called clip art. Just have to use it because it's there. Austin owns a cake shop, don't care, sells the cake in boxes. Well, we now know what a box looks like. He has some boxes, not bothered. So all them words are just waffle. He pays a total of £63.75, £3 delivery charge. So that takes him down. You do a takeaway. That's how much he's spending on boxes. You divide it by the price of a box. He buys, in other words, 45 boxes. Job done. And if you didn't know what a box looks like, you might not know what a cake looks like. So there's a square cake. Cuboidish cake. Austin uses cake yada yada. Each board is a square. So again, top 2 lines are telling you nothing. It's there. He puts ribbon around. So we're talking perimeter. So there's 35.6 all the way around. So 35.6 needs to be multiplied. What the heck have I done there? Apologies. That was obviously a small point. But there's 2 cake boards, needs timesing by 2. All that comes to 284.8 centimetres. The ribbon does not overlap. There's no extra. He buys 4 metres, which is 400 centimetres, and your job is to now do a takeaway. That'll give you 115.2. Oops, best squeeze in the centimetres of ribbon left over. On we go. Question C, again, more art. At the end of the day, the only thing we care about is that it's pointing to 7. Use the info. We've got the conversion to go from ounces to grams. It's multiply by 28.35. The reading is 7. It needs multiplying by 28.35. Don't forget though, that's per cake. 3 cakes times it by 3. Gives you the right answer for a couple of marks. 595. On we go to part I. Working in reverse, really. Austin buys bags of sugar, each bag 500 grams. What is the mass of 1 bag of sugar? So you're now talking, we've got it in grams. We need to work backwards to ounces. So we went from ounces to grams by multiplying by 28.35. We now need to divide by 28.35. Nearest ounce, 17.6-ish, becomes 18 ounces. Number 6. Could not be bothered sitting here and would certainly not force anyone to watch me write out all these. The main thing with these listing outcomes, listing whatevers, be systematic. I've tried to colour coordinate it there so you can see what I mean by that. Don't sort of try and name them randomly. you can see I've done all the A's before moving on to the B's. I did all the 1s before moving on to the 2s, and so on. And another way to make sure you don't miss any out or duplicate is remind yourself there's 2 options there, 3 options and 2. When you multiply them, you should be looking at a total of 12 options. And that helps you on part B, because the probability of randomly getting the correct code is 1 out of 12. Number 7, more wordiness. So feel free to read all that, but I'll go on. What fraction of the diet is made up of olive oil and sugar? That's these 2. So as a percentage, that's 14%. As a fraction, it's 14 out of 100. But when you cancel it down, mental arithmetic or calculator, it's 7 out of 50. On Monday, 456 grams of fish, meat and dairy products. Now 20% is also known as a fifth. All right, so when you know that that's 20%, how many grams of sugar? Sugar, you could do that. And notice 20 to 5, there's a link there. It's a quarter as much. As I say, or you could have gone into fractions if you've got a calculator. Lots of ways of doing this, but the quickest way is divide by 4. Divide that by 4 on your calculator. 114 grams, or your own method as long as it gets there. No one cares how you got the answer. On Tuesday, 1350 grams of food, and we're wanting the whole grain and pasta. So it's a long way of saying work out 36% of. Percent means out of 100. Of means times. Or you could have converted it to a multiplier of 0.36. Again, however you get to 486 for your answer, it's all good. Number 8, function or number machines. They've put it in capitals, make sure you're aware. The output is 83.6. When you're working backwards, you do the opposites. So you need to take your 83.6, you need to add, because we're opposite is subtract, we need to add 3.5, whatever that answer is, divide it by 6.7, and then spits out the answer of 13. I think part II is actually quite tricky. Although it's again inverse operations, it becomes a non-standard set up and solve question. When the input is 22, divide it by A, add 17.5, we get the output 37.5. And the reason I think it looks non-standard is because when you perform your first line of algebra, subtracting 17.5 from both sides, it's one of them where the variable, the unknown, is on the bottom. So to work out A, you need to multiply by A, divide by 20. So A is 22 divided by 20, which is 1.1, and that's why I think it's a non-standard one. On we go. Part B, back to a bit more standard, but still overly waffly. Several ways of writing the answer. In a sale, it's 1/3 of. So you could have written it the long way. T over 3 is acceptable, don't need the multiplication. Could just go for t divided by 3. All acceptable. Part C. A bag contains X sweets. Rona buys 8 of. Of means times. She also has 5 sweets, so no bags, so no X, just another 5. Do not overcomplicate that. Very easy to look at that, go for 2 marks, 5 lines. No, trust me, that's all they want. 2 marks, move on to D. Simplify, do not forget you've got your calculator and BIDMAS must apply. Multiplication comes first. That gives you 112F, which you're adding to the other 5F. So 117F for the final answer. Expand means multiply out or remove. 8 times 9, 72p. 8 times negative 3, negative 24. Onto some solving, a bit more standard than previous bit. Adding 2 to both sides, because you must do the same to both sides, don't forget. And solving is all about doing opposites. Next job, to find x, divide both sides by 5. So that's a correct answer. You could have 2 3/5, or you could go 2.6. They're all good. Part G, onto your calculator, press square root of 31, should be getting 5.567-ish. And it goes on, but to 2 decimal places, the 7 after the 6 means round it up to 5.57. Number 9, timetables. Don't forget, just have a quick soak up of the situation you're in before you carry on. But when you get to it, highlighter pens or whatever you want to use, because not all these numbers are going to be important. Complete the sentence 414. There we go. So write it in. You can do the full thing. Thames to Hicks Bay. You do the rest. Part B, Sharon drove from. So let's highlight where what she's doing. Wellington is there. Taupo, hope I've pronounced that right. I'm not familiar with it. They cross at 380. Journey, 4 hours 30, is 4.5 hours. You've got distance, you've got time. A reminder, always write down DST, and we're asked for the average speed. We need to do distance divided by time. That's in hours, that's in kilometres, so no need to muck around with units. We'll be in kilometres per hour. To 1 decimal place, 84.4 is fine. It is recurring. So whichever you've chosen, the mark scheme is happy with. Number 10, pain in the you-know-what, drawing that one with an electronic pen. So I've already drawn it. Obviously add on an extra couple of squares. They're meant to be squares, but they won't care. It's only worth a mark. As long as it's got 10 squares arranged like that, with 4 triangles above and to the left, 4 triangles below and to the right, you're done for a mark. Is it possible to have 23 squares and 21 triangles? Well, have a look. As you can see, there's 4, 6, 8, 10 squares. There's 2, 4, 6. It's a no. Give a reason, because these are odd. And if you carried on that pattern, there's only ever going to be an even number of squares and an even number of triangles. Use your own words. Write down the nth term for the squares. Well, I would argue back to basics. Just write out the sequence. Goes 4, 6, 8, 10. It's going up in twos, so 2n is definitely part of your answer, and 2n is really your 2 times table. Ask yourself, what's the difference? It goes up by 2. Part B, write down the first 3 terms. So don't forget what n is. These are ordinal numbers. It's like in gold medals, it's first, second, and third. So if you get the bronze medal, n equals 3. In algebra, your job is to take 1, 2, and 3 and substitute them in. So to get the first term, you need to do 4 ones, which is 4, but then subtract 5. You then need to do 4 twos, which is 8, subtract 5. It's no coincidence, by the way, it's going up in 4s. So your next one's 7, or again, you could have worked it out by subbing in 3. Number 11, just in case you did not know what cans of Coke and crisps look like, they've drawn them there for you. Loads of waffle at the top. It's all nonsense. It's about this 28 drinks and 35 packs of crisps. Mr. Gregory buys the least so that he has an equal number. That, folks, is an LCM, lowest common multiple question. Choice 1, you could go down the route of factor trees, which is what I have done on my worked answers, so feel free to check across. If you're a fan of going for, just list them. You've 7 5s, 35 and so on. You've got all your factors, and if your teacher's shown you how to do this, the Venn diagram method, I don't. I'm not a big fan of that, but feel free. But on here, I'm going to go, you've got your calculator. Write out the 28 times table. If you buy 1 pack of drinks, you get 28. Add 28. Add 28. So I'm doing this now in my head without a calculator. Add 30, take away 2. Add 30, take away 2. 112. And add 28, you get to 140. And I'm going to stop there because I actually know the answer in advance. But now we do the multiples of 35. Add 30, add 5. 105. And we get to 140. So that will be 5 of the drinks. And that'll be 4 packs of the multi-packs of crisps. Your job, obviously, on your calc, get that timesed, get your amount of food and drink added. I get £43.83. Number 12. Some knowledge required here. If you don't know it, do revise it. Don't forget, external angles always add to make 360. So 360 divided by the number of sides will tell you the size of the angle. But this is the other way around. So you need to do 360 divided by the size of the angle will give you the number of the sides, which in this case is 15. Part II, let's do a little bit of revision. Don't forget, in a pentagon, a 5-sided shape, there's actually 3 triangles. The number of triangles is always 2 below the number of sides. So there's 15 sides. If you could be bothered drawing it and splitting it up, you'd be able to make 13 triangles, all of which have 180 degrees in them. So that's your sum. And 2,430 is your answer. Part B, when you're doing these, I think, quite tricky questions, I always think they look a bit easier if you extend the parallel lines first. Also, this one, it says give a reason. Nope, I've already done that, not doing it twice. If you want to see me writing it out, I've already done it. Go check out my work solutions on the webpage. Here, I'll simply talk you through it. On the top, QRS is an isosceles triangle, and the base angles of an isosceles triangle, they are equal. So you do 180 minus 84, means these two should sum to make 96. But then you halve it, so each of them is 48. You know that this angle is 110. Whoops. So this smaller angle I've just drawn, 110 minus 48, that part is 62. Final step, we have alternate angles. There's a 62 on the right hand side of this transversal. That is on the left hand side, and they're in parallel lines. You need to make the statement alternate angles are equal. So X is 62. On we go. Number 13, again, I'll answer these in words. Do check out how I've written them on my worked answers. Clara wants to find out 35 people outside the travel agent on a Tuesday afternoon. Give 2 reasons why Clara is not likely to give reliable results. Firstly, it's only 35 people. Not the biggest survey in the world. If you were doing a survey of voting intentions, you wouldn't survey 35 people. So we need to do a number, I don't know how many, but we need to do a number greater than 35. So make a sentence that 35 is not enough people to be reliable. And also, if you're only doing it at one time and place, you could very likely get skewed results. So I would put reason 2, outside the travel agent, might produce biased results. Time and day, she needs to vary it. So again, there's 3 possible reasons there. Pick 2 and get your marks. Part B, why is Cara's questionnaire rubbish? First thing, well, if I said 3, they overlap. Which box do I tick if my answer is 3? So I would put that the middle 2 boxes overlap. So what happens for a person who is 3? And how many times do you travel abroad? Well, you can assume she means annually, but she doesn't say it. So it's her time period that needs a bit more specification to it. So I've put, not only should you criticise her question, you should criticise her response section as well, because that's part of it. Number 14, I can't demonstrate using a protractor, or for part B, using a ruler. But assuming you've got a full size printout, you should get that is 6 centimetres. Well, we've got a scale. The scale doesn't specify units, so 6 centimetres on this will be 6 lots of 24,000. So grab your calc. 1 mark for 140, 1 mark for measuring, 1 mark for multiplying and getting 144,000 centimetres. Once it's in metres, we divide by 100. Always think about, does 1,440 metres sound reasonable? Distance between post office and bus station? Yep, we're not talking stupid numbers there. And part B, bearings. The key word in bearings is always from. from the fuel station means you are stood at the fuel station facing north and you want to turn clockwise. So that is the angle you should be measuring with your protractor. Have an educated guess, by the way. It's bigger than 90, it's smaller than 180. So you're looking for a number around what, 130-ish? If you measure it perfectly, you get 125. Mark scheme allows 2 either way. Number 15, back to some ratio. So Frank's making a fruit drink. Always extract information and get it organised. Orange juice, get it up there. Lemonade, get it in there so you don't have to keep rereading to get that information. He pours 390ml into the glass. How much of lemonade? So the lemonade accounts for 5/6. Of means times, and 390 is the amount. Hopefully calc gives you 325 millilitres. Again, for part B, very much over waffle. I would advise you to write things down. We're now talking apple juice to lemonade. He pours 120 of apple juice into the glass. He then pours lemonade in so the lemonade makes up the rest. 390 minus 120 is 270. Now, if you don't know how to cancel that down on your calc, use your fraction button. I know ratios and fractions, they're related, but they're not the same. But you can stick in 120 fraction button 270, hit equals. It will spit out 4/9. It's not the same as a fraction, but it does the work for you. Or you could use several steps, as long as you get to 4/9 and get to the simplest form. No one cares. Number 16. Waffle, waffle, waffle at the top. Only thing I care about is there's 45 students. Ultimately, this is a tricky, a non-standard estimating the mean. Because when you estimate the mean, you use midpoints. So 75, 85, 95, 105, and 115. But normally this information is presented in a table. This is on a bar chart or histogram if you want to be a bit more pretentious. But on we go. You've got to just multiply the midpoints by the frequencies. So your calculator needs to do 75 times 5, 85 times 7, 95 multiplied by 12, this 105 times 11, and 115 multiplied by, 115 multiplied by 10. Getting myself confused. Once you've done all that multiplying, total it up. Hopefully you get 4415. If not, do it again. Be careful with your brackets. It needs dividing by the 45 I mentioned. That's the only important fact from the data at the start. You can give your answer. Mark scheme does allow it as a fraction. 883 over 9. If you want to turn it into mixed, feel free. It also is 98.1 to 1 decimal place or recurring. If you want to give the whole lot, 98.1 is your answer. On we go. Factorize means put into brackets. Always looks like that when you realise it's a quadratic. And your job in this space, think of pairs of numbers which multiply to make negative 24 and add to make -5. So go through the motions, do your lists, and so on. Eventually, you should realise it's in no particular order, -8 and +3. Part B, laws of indices, bit of algebra and so on. First of all, do the numbers. You've got 3 cubed, calculator says 27. And when you have a power to a power, you should be multiplying those powers to get power of 6. Inequalities on a number line. First job, put the circles where they need to be. And then colour in any ones that need colouring in. It's that one that needs to be a closed circle. The one above -2 can remain open because that doesn't have an equals to. And just a line. I know some people put arrows on them, doesn't matter. Just a line is fine. Number 18, we're now into tricky territory. So, to work out the area of the triangle, if you tilt your head, it's right angled. You've already got the height. You want the base. You want BC. How do we find BC? Well, that's why it's worth 5 marks and not 3, because it's several steps. So to get BC, BC is the hypotenuse of CAB. So you need to square the other two sides. And it's an add because CB is the hypotenuse. And after all that nonsense, we get the answer of 9. Comes out as 81. We now move on. The area of the triangle is going to be half base times height. A half. The base is what you've just worked out. The height is 4.9. And we get 22.05 centimetres squared. Number 19. Loads of waffle, which we're not interested in any of it. There's no trick questions. If that's a 0.4, get a 0.6 on there, easy mark. 0.25 means 0.75, and they repeat. Whoopsie doodle. Calculate the probability that on a given day, Gina does not eat a salad. That means we go down that path, but does drink a coffee up that path. And when you go down 2 paths, they are multiply. 0.6 times 0.25, 0.15, and we move on. Keeping your calc at hand for number 20. Usually with percentage change, you get amount of money being invested and you get increase of interest of money, or you get decrease of some kind of car or something that decreases in value. Not here, but it is a decrease. Now, if it was decreasing by 5%, your multiply would be 0.95 because you need to subtract it. But this is 55%. Your multiplier should be 0.45. And it bounces 7 times. And it starts, so your capital is 4. That's what you put in your calc. You know you're going to get a horrible decimal. 0.060897. And it goes on. Provided it to a sensible degree of accuracy. You've gone for 4 DPs or 3 sig figs. It's entirely your choice. All right. State any assumptions you have made. Lots to go on in terms of the person hasn't fired it downwards and so on. It's been dropped and so. But I would stick with keeping it simple. It's assuming that it's not travelling and going from gravel to grass and so on. So I'm assuming that it stays on the same surface. What effect would your assumption have? Well, if it goes onto a softer surface, it wouldn't bounce as high. So I've put on my worked answers. Harder surface could bounce higher, might be better bounce. Softer surface might bounce less. So you could go in lots of directions on that front. Number 21, Venn diagrams are always wordy. So 50 in total, make a note. Out of these 50, 27 are rowing. That's that circle, can't do it yet. 8 don't do either. We can pop that in there. 32 take part in cycling. So you need that circle to add up to 32 and that circle to add up to 27. So you could do a bit of trial and improvement, do some repeated guessings and so on, because obviously right now there's more than 50 people. Or you could set up some algebra, call the overlap the intersection x, so rowing is 27 minus the x, cycling should be 32 minus the x. And if you add up what's in this rectangle, numbers wise, 32, 27, that takes us to 59 plus the 8, so 68 is the numbers. And as we can tell, we've got minus x minus 2x plus x. Hold on. Got a brain not braining. 32 al plus 8 is 40 plus 27 is 67. Come on, dude. 67 minus x plus x, they go. Just one negative x gives you 50. So you can tell from that 17 is in the intersection. 27 minus 17, 32 minus 17. So algebra will get you there. Trial and improvement will also get you there. As long as you get there, it's all good. One person is chosen at random, so it's out of 50. Find the probability they do rowing but not cycling. That's those people there. It doesn't tell you to cancel it down, so you don't have to, but I'm sure most of you will. Number 22. How wordy does one question want to be? Like I've always said, one line at a time. No one cares. Abdul has £825. The exchange rate. So to go from pounds to the Brazilian, is it rands or? I am rubbish on my money, but never mind. All I care about, I'm going to times it by 6.27. That's 5,172.75 whatevers. But it's changed into 50 notes. You need to round it down to the nearest 50. So that is the nearest 50, but it was, even if that was 99, it would still round down. We need to know how many notes. Divided by 50, that's 103 notes being changed. So it says, what is the maximum amount of Brazilian, reals? Is that what they're called? Flipping heck. Shows I haven't read the question because it's not important. How many notes is 103 and how much does it cost to the nearest penny? So if there's 5150 Brazilian reals, I suppose, divide it now by that original multiplier. That will tell us it's £821, etc. Nearest penny, 37. Job done. Very much an over-the-top question. It's not a bad question, but there's definitely words to catch you out. Don't let it. And finally, when you are changing the subject of a formula or when you are solving it, you must do opposites. Everything's locked away in the cube root. You need to cube both sides to free the RQ. To make R the subject, leave R where it is, divide both sides by Q, and I'll cheat, but that is why it's only worth 2 marks, because it sorts itself out in 2 steps. So like with all Eduqas papers, don't let the waffle put you off. Yes, there are some tricky questions. Thought one was a bit mid-table, was it question 6 or 8? Quite a non-standard way of doing some things. But there's always plenty of marks available if you take it nice and steady. That's why they've got 2 hours 15 for these damn papers. It's a long time. Don't let it put you off. Take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. Anyway, hope that's helped with papers 1 and 2. See you on the next one.